We celebrated something big this last Sunday. We celebrated 2 years as RiverCross Church. And in order to do that, we looked at the passage that has formed so much a part of what RiverCross has become. We looked at that story of when God had led his people up to the banks of the Jordan River, and they could look across and see that promised land that for generations and centuries God had been promising people that they would get to live in. The problem was there was this big flooded river in the way. And the critical moment for the people of Israel, the people who were trying to follow God, was when they had to actually step into the river. Because God said that God was not going to stop the flow of that river until they actually stepped in to the river. And when they did that, God dried up the river and they miraculously were able to walk across. And to us, that points to the fact that God has formed people who follow him with the goal that we step in when God says, step in. And if the church is anything, it's that. It's people trying to follow God when God says, step in. We've taken some big steps. We've taken some bold steps. Groups of us, individuals of us, even our whole church has taken major steps to step in to the ministry that God has called us to. But we're not done yet. There are many more steps that God will continue to call us to make. And if we are going to be the church that God calls us to be, we need to be willing and bold and faithful to the point where we're willing to step in when God says, step in. So we spent some time after church talking about what some of those steps might be. Some of those steps in terms of relationships with each other, relationships beyond our church, relationships with God, relationships with Christ, and how those form then the steps that we take to be the church that God calls us to be. A conversation that we had after the morning was over, a conversation with a group of about 40 of us, looked in depth at what does it mean to step in terms of worship, step in terms of connect, step in terms of serve, which are the 3 ways that we talk about RiverCross Church. And we explored and we brainstormed all kinds of ideas. So in the next couple weeks and in the next couple months, we're going to be praying through, talking through, and figuring out what are those steps that God is specifically calling us to take so that we step into the ministry that God has laid ahead for us. I'm excited for that journey, and I'm excited to take it with you.